Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? Hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Signage
update that we had?
that thing's going to stay there though, because it's.
You should.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Ah, the events.
Yes.
Yeah, we should.
I'll sit up here, buddy.
Can hear you loud and clear.
Good afternoon. The date is July 16, 2026, and the time is 12:30 p.m. I hereby call to order the workshop of the City Council of the City of Groveland, Florida. Can we take the roll?
Jenny will do.
Mayor Keith Kehoe.
Here.
Vice Mayor Barbara Gaines. Here. Councilmember Amy Jo Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Michael J. Cox.
Here.
Councilmember Stephen Chilkowski, absent. Interim City
Here.
Manager Tim Maslow. Oh, he's here.
He's
Okay,
here.
thank you.
I'm here.
Interim City Manager Tim Maslow.
Here.
Sergeant at Arms Chief Sean Ramsey. City Clerk Jenny Wright here.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. The first presentation on the agenda is Presentation Information and Technology Department, New Project Management Tracking System. Mr. Maslow?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thanks for having us here today. Before we get started to talk about capital improvement projects as part of our budget workshop session, we thought it would be appropriate to fit in a presentation that we tried to deliver at last month's budget workshop, and IT unfortunately didn't have the time to provide it. They're here today. We made sure that we promised them to be first on the agenda. So you have Mark and Jim from IT. They've been working really diligently over the course of the last few months or so to help us create a new software to help us manage essentially our projects, right? There's a lot of tasks we do as a city. It goes back to the concept, it's difficult to manage what you can't measure, right? There's a lot of projects. We have, as you know, the strategic plan, there's a lot of items in there, our CIP, there's a lot of council priorities. There's various council or department, priorities and projects that they have. So this is really the first time we've gotten down in one software that's cohesive for us to look at what are all the projects that we're all actively working on. Some of the projects that you'll see are not necessarily active, but they're just things in our plans that haven't even started yet. So I'm excited for Mark to deliver the presentation to you today. Our department directors have all been working on this. We anticipate growing it from here. This is really just the start. He's going to give you a high-level view of what is RIKE, what is the software that we're using for project management, how do we intend on using it going forward. And then we're also going to establish or schedule some one-on-one briefings with you all in early August. We're going to identify that Thursday briefing day that you usually sit down with me. We'll include Mark and Jim so you all could bring up the reports, get acclimated with the software, and see how this is going to help you, help the council, and help staff moving forward. So with that said, Mark, do you want to start the presentation?
Sure,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, so don't have control here. As Tim identified, so thank you for having us. Project management was brought to us as a request from the city manager to begin to try to establish some goals for this project. The goals here are to, one, we wanted to establish consistency. The consistency is to have all departments use one tool to standardize, to help plan, organize, and track all of the projects across all of the city efficiently. So one pane of glass, if you will. We also needed to set our goal to ensure collaboration, not just sort of departments interacting with projects interacting within a given department, but again, across the city, allowing a tool for that multi-departmental, multi-discipline, if you will, tracking and collaboration and ultimately facilitation of those real-time updates to begin to sort of get us out of that conversation of where do we stand, where are we at? We talked about this last month, where are we at this month? So the idea is to begin to have this tool reflect that for us. And that leads to the visibility. The visibility not only within departments, but then that higher level visibility at the city manager or city council level. So those are some of the goals that we set out for this project as we began. A little difficulty with my slides here. Interesting. Yep. So that led us to evaluating a number of different tools. If you begin to get into the world of project management, there's literally thousands of tools out there to settle in on. We settled in on this tool called Wrike, W-R-I-K-E. And for some of the reasons why we selected this tool is an emphasis or focus on simple, making it simple to use for maybe personnel who've never been exposed to project management software before. Project management software, for those that are familiar, can get extraordinarily complex, extraordinarily tedious with the various levels of data entry and such. And so simple was one of the things that really excited us about this tool. Also collaborative, the ability to have it visible across many different platforms, many different devices, and of course users. The dashboarding capability, the ability to sort of tell a story by simply looking at a picture. Where do we stand? The other exciting thing about it was very customizable. We're not kind of locked into a box of just following certain rules of certain software programs. It allowed it to customize it to meet our needs as a city. And then the other exciting thing about it is relatively low cost. $25 per month per user allows us to get into a platform with limited financial commitment, no contracts to sign. And so ultimately, this tool can grow with us. If at some point we hit a ceiling where the tool no longer meets our needs, then we can pretty easily slide the data, if you will, from this tool over to another platform if we choose to do that. And so, low cost to entry, low barrier, low training, et cetera, really made this tool quite attractive. I have a video here to share with you. It's a 3-minute video.
Wrike is a work management platform that helps teams manage projects, organize tasks, and collaborate all in one place. Let us tell you how it works in the next 3 minutes. First, let's start with the basics and see how Wrike helps you manage your daily tasks. Here you can set due dates, Add assignees, choose statuses, customize statuses, create custom fields, write descriptions, add sub-items, attach files, communicate with your team, and much more. But what if that's not enough and you have not just one, but many tasks? Many teams, a whole department, multiple departments. And what if on top of that, you have complicated processes, sophisticated projects, multiple tools, and all other complexities of modern work? The good news is, Reich is designed to address all those modern challenges. It's customizable, scalable, and easy to use. No matter your team's size, needs, or industry, Reich helps make work easy for everyone with tailored solutions for every department. Since 2006, we have been investing in our product to develop a world-class solution for work management. Now let us show you the true flexibility and power of Reich. It helps to organize all your tasks in one view for better clarity, which you can customize to reflect your specific work needs. What's more, you can create and use your own item types to reflect your unique workflows and processes. Also, Reich offers various views, so you can see and manage your project's tasks in a way that suits you. Multiple projects? You can use folders to organize all your team's initiatives. Multiple teams? With Reich Spaces, each team can have their own secure workspace and still work with others on shared projects. We understand that different teams have different needs, so we created features to support any workflow end to end. Our request forms help organize all incoming tasks in one place. They are fully customizable, and you can even share them with stakeholders outside of Reich. Kick off an entire project in seconds, thanks to the power of automation. Using workload charts, you can then assign and manage resources at a project, team, and organizational level, and use timesheets to keep track of your effort. Now it's time to collaborate. Our native proofing feature allows you to leave specific feedback directly on assets and review more than 30 types of documents without leaving Reich. Use automation to save time and turn repeatable tasks into automated processes, speeding up approvals and reviews. Need to see the big picture? Our dashboards are highly customizable, so you can use them to track your team's tasks or to view a specific project in any way you like. For a higher level view of your projects, we have Reich reports, which provide key insights and important metrics at a glance. But wait, there's more. We also offer enterprise security, pioneering AI, and additional automation features, pre-built customizable templates, integrations with more than 400 apps, fully functional mobile and desktop apps, 24/7 worldwide.
So I'll stop the video there just to move us along a little bit. But as you can see, it's a really interesting platform. It can do an awful lot for the city. And so, where do we stand here? Where do we stand with we've made the purchase, we've installed it, we've configured it, and we've rolled it out to the city leaders. We actually scheduled training for each department individually, and so that the different department leader, along with their support staff and their leaders, could all join and then individually have their specific questions answered, have their specific projects brainstormed about how best to track their projects, their initiatives within the platform. Again, not only specific to them, but then bring it holistically all together at a citywide view. And so that's what we did. Over 110 projects have now been entered into the platform. Reporting has now been built and ready to be provided to city leaders and yourselves. So a lot of work has been done already. A lot of credit, frankly, to all the leaders of the city, where they've really been open-minded to adopting the platform and begin to have visibility and collaboration on the data here. So this is a screenshot of one of our first dashboards, one of our first reports that have been created. And you'll see here in the upper left-hand corner that the number of active projects. And so, and this, while this is a screenshot, obviously static, once you gain access, Tim mentioned August 6th, once you gain access to the reports, you'll be able to see that all of this data is in real time. And so once you bring up the report, you'll be able to see how many active projects. And the other thing that's nice about this dashboard is it's all based on fiscal year. And so you'll be able to filter based on, is it this fiscal year or is it next fiscal year? And so when you think about it that way, it really becomes not only a great sort of where are we at kind of visibility, but it also becomes a really nice planning tool for the future as right around the corner begin budgeting season and those kinds of things, to be understanding, hey, what are the projects that leaders are beginning to think about for next year or the year after? Again, all in this one platform really begins to change the conversation, frankly. And so again, having these number of active projects allows us to have that, and as leaders begin to close up or finish up various projects, you'll see this number go down. As new projects get added, you'll see the number go back up. You also see we have some categories of projects. One category called City Impact, and this allows us to identify which projects are impacted based on a category. So for instance, some of the categories we have are operational efficiency or compliance-oriented. So to understand, hey, if we choose not to do that project, that could be a compliance issue if we don't do that project. Or if we don't have the funds to support this project in the future, that may impact operational efficiency as an example. And so having these categories help us understand the projects. And so that's the city impact category. Then additionally, we have a driven by category. A little hard to see on your screen. Again, come August 6th, you'll be able to have access to these reports. You'll be able to see these categories a little easier. But some of the driven by categories are things like, hey, is this a department initiative? Is this a regulatory type of initiative? Or maybe this is an initiative that supports some of our strategic plans and priorities, such as maybe a financial health, or maybe our informed and engaged initiative as an example. And so really bringing together some of those strategic items along with the actual projects that support them, again, becomes a powerful vehicle for us for understanding that investment and that use of time. Finally, here on this report is a widget on the dashboard called Council Requested Projects. And so any projects that come specifically from Council, maybe it was an idea or suggestion that you have had that then leads to a project, can now be incorporated right here on the dashboard, and again, giving you visibility of the status of that project, rather than you saying to the individual, hey, where do we stand, where do we stand, where do we stand? Well, now you can see where we stand, you can see the status and the progress of that particular project. As we continue to scroll down on this dashboard, this is a second page or further down on this dashboard, you'll see we also have all projects. And so really the all project view is representative of that 106 that we saw earlier. Show me the specific details of those projects. What are the project names? What is the status of those projects? What was the start date and ultimately the due date of those projects? Again, those categories I mentioned of driven by and city impact. You'll see in this screenshot an example where if the due date becomes overdue, the due date then becomes red. And so the red due date really stands out to you when you're looking at the list of reports and you're scrolling down and you know, just kind of auditing that, if you will. That red due date really stands out. The way the system works, of course, is if something does become overdue, then email alerts go out to the leaders of that individual to ensure that they're aware of that overdue situation. And then over to the right, you may notice the council priorities on this dashboard. And so the council priorities were a list of priorities that were provided to the city manager, and we are making them visible here. So again, it's a nice touchstone to understand, hey, these were the priorities that were set out by the council, and let's make sure that they're top of mind for us as we're working through our projects and initiatives and aligning to those priorities. All right, and so I'll continue on here. So that was the first report, what we refer to as the dashboard. The second report is kind of a zoomed-in view of that dashboard. We're really just a focus on the project list. And so again, as a tool for yourselves, you'll be able to have a shortcut, if you will, set up on your computer. It'll bring right up this project list, and now you'll just have the entire list of projects. As I mentioned, by fiscal year. So in this case, this is 2026 fiscal year, but 2027, et cetera, will follow. And then finally, this final report here is an interesting report that actually city manager has suggested we build, which really is an interesting way of looking at the data, which is taken our strategic priorities that we have, strategic plan priorities that we have as a city, and kind of putting them side by side with those council priorities. And again, seeing those two data sets, if you will, up against each other, again, can be very powerful, especially from a planning perspective, to make sure that there is alignment there and how we can bring those worlds together in the form of a project deliverable. So those are the three reports that we have so far in the platform. As we begin to think about the what's referred to as metrics at a glance, again, as I was mentioning to you, we have the project tool. We now have the data within the tool. That data, 118 projects to date have been entered. 99 of those projects are presently actively being worked on by our leaders. 11 different departments are set up within the platform. And of course, with the math there, it gives us an average of nine projects per department within the platform. And so finally, it brings us to next steps. And next steps, as our city manager has identified, we have August 6th as a targeted date for one-on-one training for City Council to access those reports that I just briefly previewed. We are establishing weekly conversations with the leadership level, as well as within department meetings within each area for this review of the projects. One of the important components of keeping projects active and running and up to date is a weekly or monthly, whatever is appropriate for a given project, but a regular cadence of review, progress, conversation. We also intend to incorporate budgeting, to bring budgeting into the project conversation. And so are we on track, or are we over budget for a given project? And then finally, leveraging AI. AI is built into the platform. You briefly saw that in the video. And leveraging AI to not only have assistance with the analytics, but also to assist with planning and growth within the tool. So with that, let me pause and open it up for questions for anyone.
Hey, Joe?
I want to thank you guys for getting that set up and like taking on this whole project. I think it's great. I'll probably have more questions as we get into it and like start exploring it more, but right now I think it's great. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
As we all know, the information in the system is only as good as the input. I'm director of the CRA. I have 5 employees working for me, and each one of them have 8 projects apiece, just to keep this simple. Who is ultimately responsible for ensuring that my 5 people put in the beginning of the project, monitoring the project, and ensuring that is clean? Is that my responsibility, or who ultimately is responsible?
That's a great question. At this point, it is the leader of the area. So in your example, the CRA manager would be responsible for ensuring that those projects are properly managed in the platform.
Okay.
Just to elaborate on that, this is a brand-new software. Anytime you're rolling out something brand new, it doesn't match up with our habits, right? It's difficult to get it launched. We're trying to do it in baby steps, bite-sized pieces, right? So we have a first phase that the department directors are building in with their teams. Next phase is going to be the budgeting, and then the third phase after that is going to be the AI-driven analysis. To help ensure that we're taking this seriously, I meet with our senior directors every Monday morning at 10 a.m. This is going to have to be built into our Monday morning agenda to make sure that we're allocating time for each department director to go over their section so that they know come Monday we need to make sure that we have this information updated. Because if it's not updated routinely, as you just called out, it's not going to be as useful for us. So it needs to be integrated with our habits.
Are there any consequences if 2 of the 5 of my workers do not put that information in?
That's a conversation that we'll have to have with those department directors. Why is the information not going in? Are we adequately staffed? Is it just a time issue? Are we not allocating time toward it, scheduling? But ultimately, that's going to be between me and each director.
Okay.
One of the things that city manager and I have spoken about, and I do have a fair amount of experience supporting these type of platforms, training on these platforms, et cetera. And one of the things that I have found to be very powerful to support exactly what you're asking about is a concept called gamification. And really, it's about dashboards, it's about visibility, and it's about communication, and it's about support. And really, when you approach it that way, it's much more of a positive and supporting approach as opposed to a negative, dare I say, beat down approach. Rather than blaming, instead it's supporting. And so that gamification, and you saw some examples of some dashboards early on in supporting city manager's comment of a Monday morning, a Monday cadence. Those things all begin to come together to be very powerful. And so in the role of gamification, nobody wants to finish last. Nobody wants to show that their data is blank or not being used. And so it becomes somewhat of a competitive, almost fun thing for folks to be engaged in a really positive way. And so that'll take some time and some training and some coaching, but I believe very much that can be a very positive influence on the staff.
I'm not looking for blame, but what I am looking for is transparency and accountability.
Agreed.
That is the
I support
reason
you.
that I asked that question.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Is there a way that we could put a push notification on a project that we are interested in? So anytime an update happens on that, we get a tag on it saying this project you're interested in has been updated?
Sure. As I briefly alluded to, the system is highly configurable and customizable, and so that would be a customization that we could build. But the answer to your question is absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you going to assign somebody to enter things that we ask the city manager to do in the meetings?
Yeah, I guess.
Those are all projects.
I'm
Sure.
assigning it.
I just the
You're-
city
you're
manager.
assigned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assigned from you to assign to others.
Okay. Is there a way that we could put public concerns in there and have people pick that up and say, okay, I'm going to handle this, or this division is going to handle this, or something like that? Because we get a lot of stuff from the public, and it would be great if we could just put it up there and then someone just see it and grab it and say, okay, I'm going to run with this one.
Yeah, one of the things you might have picked up on, and I'd be happy to send that little YouTube video clip, but one of the things you might have picked up on during the video was this notion of where a form could be filled out, and so whether you're filling out the form on behalf of the public or otherwise, but this form could be filled out, and then the data goes into the platform, and then we begin to work that data, to your point. So yes, that could definitely be done.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Steve?
Yeah, I just had, so what was and this is more of a Tim Maslow question. What, did each department have an Excel spreadsheet? How was things being tracked? Was it different by department, or did everyone have a different CRM?
Somebody would state what he said, each department have what?
A different way of managing projects.
Oh,
Yeah, it really a hodgepodge. It's not to say there's not a right way or a wrong way, but I would say project manager through Microsoft was used by some before, using just a basic spreadsheet, some just using, notes or a Word document. There was not a standard across the board mechanism for managing projects, so everyone was doing it in a different way. And then the other part of that, when it's not being collected that way, right? So many times throughout the week or the month, you would ping me, right? Where are we at with this project? And then I would then ping each department director. Then they would have to just go down the list, right? That's a very archaic way of managing projects, right? So for a low cost, this is going to basically automate Again, the habits have to build in the data so that we can automate to where, it's Wednesday afternoon, you hear from a constituent, someone says, hey, that streetscape project downtown, it looks like it's behind schedule. Is that on schedule or not, or when's that going to be complete? You could just easily pull that report once you have the training in August to say, all right, well, this is where we're at, and then you could share information with a constituent. Or you might be preparing for a budget workshop. What projects are we going to likely have carry forward going into next year because we're not going to be complete by the end of this fiscal year? Yeah, that's a way to use that. But again, it's been a very varied approach to project management leading up to now. So this
Gotcha.
packaged with doing monthly financial forecasting, it's going to be difficult for us to do it first, right? But as we start building that in our habits, we're going to be able to be a lot more intentional, right? And proactive and understanding where we are in terms of these projects. And I think it's going to also give us a very healthy conversation in terms of how much are we taking on as a city? Like in terms of our scale, in terms of our resources, both monetarily versus staff time, how much are we really taking on, similar to what we talked about in the previous workshop, to making sure that we're prioritizing quality over quantity.
And Tim, the second thing I had was on the budget. How is it kind of being incorporated? Because obviously we know the budget ahead of time, but is finance going in every time they pay an invoice and going into this software and also adding it in here? Or is it fully integrated with the finance software? Like or is it going to be on the staff member to go to finance every week and say, what's been paid against this budget?
Well, we will have the monthly financial reports from finance, which will be helpful. But it's really, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, it's really on that project manager for that assignment to track in terms of where we are financially for that project and make sure that from a high-level view, with those columns next to each project, what's the amount budgeted and what have we spent so far and what's also encumbered.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so it would most likely, the budget would be updated on like a monthly basis. I'm just wondering how like let's say a manager of one project, are they having to then go to finance and then add in, 100 different invoices on a very complex project? Is that their responsibility, or are they just updating it once a month with what the total was spent on the budget?
Yeah, truthfully, that's I guess I would describe as phase 2 as the city manager has identified. So it's a great question. We have not built in the budgeting component yet, and therefore the support and processes around that. So it's a little premature to answer your question, only in that we just haven't finalized those details of that process yet. It's something we're looking at, something we're thinking about how best to do. And certainly we need to brainstorm further with finance on their capabilities. But at a very basic, what I would call it, IT level sort of data processing perspective, it wouldn't make sense to duplicate efforts and duplicate data, right? It wouldn't make sense to, use your example, have all those transactional items, let's just say in the Tyler financial package, and then manually rekey all those same financial transactions into the project management package. That would be not only not a lot, very inefficient from the project manager or whomever entering that data, but just from a database and data storage perspective, that would be duplicative and somewhat unnecessary. And so really, we'd want to find some way to better summarize that, because ultimately what we're trying to do within the project tool is tell that story. And we shouldn't necessarily need each individual transaction to tell that story. That's just an opinion on my side, so more to come on to answer your question.
It'll be a team effort. We have Chris, our new CFO, who's going to be involved in that process. They're also already in Tyler looking at project level accounting that came up in the first workshop earlier today. We haven't really taken advantage of that module yet. Right now, it's kind of just each project is packaged in with operating. So that's going to be able to be a way for us through the monthly tracking to be more project-specific on where things are financially. So not all the details have been ironed out just yet, but that's really the second phase of this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious on, getting an update on that, because I don't want to turn everyone into data entry people. So I'm kind of curious on if that can be an AI thing, or if that is something that can be directly linked with the current finance software we have. But that's a big component of it, because if it only gets updated occasionally, then the budget's never going to be accurate. But if it's being updated every day, then that's taking away somebody's time. So there has to be some way to integrate it so that it works, so that when you actually look at a project, you're seeing the real-time budget.
Completely agree with your comments. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
That's all I had.
I guess it's on me. A few things. How many users?
Currently, we have 39 users, active users in the platform.
Okay, and will that be where it stays, or are you going to get to 100, or?
No. It's something actually City Manager and I have spoken a little bit about. What we've chosen to do is, from a go-to-market perspective, is to allow the decision of how many users to be managed at the local level. Some departments just choose to have their leaders using the platform, and some departments have chosen to have many staff members because maybe in the CRA example, Vice Mayor suggested, was maybe there's many levels of management within the platform. And so currently, it's decided at the local level. Our projections are not many more, to your point, not many more users.
Well, maybe we have one standard throughout the city on how many people or who's going to enter in things. To answer, or hopefully to build on what Steve was saying, and I've used these systems in the past, and when I entered an invoice to go to finance, it came off, that immediately came into my dashboard, so that I knew not when they paid the bill, but I knew exactly how much I was out. And so I hope most of it, and that was 20 years ago when we were doing that, so I hope this does that and integrates very well. The key that I've always found is, one, you got to have staff buy-in, because it's a pain to switch over to something like this. It makes your job very easy after about 6 months, but that 6 months is really, really hard to do. And the big areas where we failed in my past lives was we didn't have enough training. Without training, you don't have people. You have people making up stuff to try to get things done. And so I hope there's a budget for extensive training on this, because it's going to take training, a lot of training to get it done. To answer your question, if City Council wants to put something in, how does it get prioritized? That's the big problem. I mean, this system should prioritize things. And if we're all putting things in and somebody says, well, I'm going to want to please Keith, I'm going to do this, and it knocks something else down, I don't know if there's a policy that needs to be done that says it'll be reviewed and moved up, because your answer should be, well, Keith, if I put this in here, this one's going to go down. This priority's got to shift. And that'll be a tough question to answer. Also, a long time ago, we had a text. We didn't have an email. I would get a text that's a tickler that would say so-and-so's behind. And I agree with you 100%. You become a coach. This becomes the policeman, and we're the coach then. Right. You can call up and say, you need help and stuff like that. Is this going to be able to do text ticklers to the senior management as well as the employee using it?
Yeah, so it supports a mobile application. The mobile application has push notifications, and so those push notifications, I believe, are what you're referring to. So yes, the push notifications are currently being triggered based on a due date. And currently, it's being triggered based on an overdue due date. But as I mentioned earlier, it's highly customizable. So if the feedback we get from the users are that, hey, they maybe a week notice ahead of time before that due date, as an example, maybe is a more appropriate trigger.
So you could coach them, say, what do you need for help to get it done on time? That's a perfect answer. I think that covers all this. This is going to be evolutionary. This could be evolutionary for this city. It has for but it is 6 months of pure, I don't want to use the word, but it is hard to get it going. Once it's going, everybody loves it, but it's like having a baby. It's going to be real hard, but then when you get one, it's going to be really great. But just try to keep everybody in the staff really needs to buy into it real quick. But thank you for that. This is quite exciting. Most exciting thing I've seen in a long time. It's very, very good.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I think that moves us on from project management. You'll be hearing more onto finance and budgeting and capital improvements planning.
Cool. Let's move on. Discussion fiscal year 2026, 2027 capital improvement projects. Who's up?
I believe I am, sir.
Okay.
Presentation. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, I appreciate you taking the time to have me come before you and discuss our disaster recovery site request. We tend to talk mostly about natural disasters, hurricanes and severe weather as a need for a site, and we lose sight of the fact that quite often, actually more often, we need to do recoveries when it comes down to cyber attacks, ransomware, power and infrastructure failures, and the most common is human error. You know, some guy with a backhoe digging up Route 50. So not having a recovery site of some sort does leave the city open to the possibility of having an event where we don't have full use of our public safety, utilities, finance, or communications. Guys, can you help me out with this presentation? This isn't fucking working. All right, so we're going to move on with that, and I apologize for the glitch with the presentation. So first topic I'd like to hit is risk compliance and responsibility. Currently, the Florida Cybersecurity Act mandates that all state and local government comply with NIST disaster recovery standards. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And it is NIST that has what they call the cybersecurity framework, which outlines exactly how to go about the proper way of creating disaster recovery centers and disaster recovery plans. It's also mandated from Florida State Department of Emergency Management and FEMA when they talk about the continuation of operations of government. That's all fine and good that there's regulatory requirements for it, but that's not really what drives me to come before you today and to request this disaster recovery site. I'm coming before you because I've actually lived through one. Back in October of 2012, I ran the network for the borough of South Plainfield, New Jersey. It was a city pretty much the same size as Groveland, and we had the same about workforce. Well, Hurricane Sandy made landfall in Brigantine, New Jersey. It's a Jersey shore town, which is about 115 miles away from South Plainfield. And even though it was 115 miles away, the amount of devastation that we incurred was, I'm not eloquent enough to describe it. It wasn't just a matter of high winds and your typical damage. It took out cities. We had an emergency operations center about a mile away from Borough Hall, but we didn't have a backup data center. It was one of those things that Yeah, it was always in the initial budget request, but it would usually get cut. Why? Well, New Jersey isn't exactly the capital of hurricanes. And at those times, back in 2012, ransomware attacks and cyber attacks were nothing like they are today. So when South Plainfield flooded, and we had about 1/8 of an inch of water between flooding our data center, I thought I dodged a bullet. I was like, great, we didn't flood. Well, there was no internet, and there was no power, and there was no communications for 3 weeks. And even though you have a generator like everybody else should have, they're not really designed to run for 3 weeks around the clock, 24/7. And one of the first things we found out was that we couldn't get fuel. We needed to set up temporary shelters, and we were having trouble, getting a hold of databases, because we used to keep a database of all our residents who needed medical equipment at home. Like if you needed a dialysis machine or if you were on a ventilator. Our emergency management used to keep databases for the stuff, so we would know where to go when something happened. So when we lost our network there, when we literally ran out of fuel, we were starting to work with our hands tied behind our backs. So I am aware of many other agencies, Altamont Springs, Claremont, Lake County. They have backup centers, but they have them within the confines of their towns. I think it's a tremendous mistake. Is it better than nothing? Yes. But if they were hit with a serious catastrophic event, they might lose both locations. I lost both of my EOCs. So I really implore you to really consider having some sort of disaster recovery plan. All right, what I'm really asking from the council is, please give us the tools to be at our best during the worst of times. That's really what I'm asking. Give us the ability to be at our best during the worst of times. Is it working now? All right, cool. So this slide really just talks about where we've come so far today. So back in 2024, I believe Vice Mayor Gaines was on the council at the time. I didn't do that. We recognized that our city network was in dire need of modernization, and the council took action at that time and financed us modernizing our network. And really what the slide just depicts is that everything that's been highlighted was on our goal, on our timeline to achieve, and we have achieved it. The only part left is to deal with the disaster recovery part of the puzzle. So, I understand that this is a very big ask. All right, your traditional disaster recovery, if we were to do a complete site tomorrow, we would be looking at about $1.4 million, and hosting out in Tallahassee would run at about $3,500 a month. This is a big ask, and I'm aware of that. So what I thought would be a good idea was to see if we can go about doing this a different way. And what I came up with was this 5-year disaster recovery strategy. So the goal is to start off small, right? We invest, I swear this is going to get tossed in the trash in a minute. If we invest $250,000 per year, we can build our DR site a little bit at a time, all right? And it would take us a span of 5 years. And how we would go about doing it is that we would replace aging equipment that we're currently using now. So our core network, as it gets older, and we replace pieces of that, we take those old parts and we put them over into the disaster recovery site. So the goal is basically buy once, use twice. That's the goal I'm going for. And I believe that by year 5, we'll have a fully operational disaster recovery site. And it is at that time, year 5, we can make the decision, do we want to move it off-site to a data center, perhaps in Tallahassee? Or maybe by that time, we have a new city hall and we think that's good enough. You know, that's a discussion to be had. But at least by year 5, we'll have full DR. Out of the gate, our first-year investment, that would be buying the storage components of the network. So we would have that as an off-site backup site. So it would be functional to a certain extent day one, but it would take us, 5 years of swapping out equipment to get a full DR site going. So yeah, so Plan A versus Plan B, rather than $1.4 million up front, $250,000 annually. Instead of buying a complete set of duplicate equipment, we'll just reuse retired equipment. Rather than me having a $1.4 million request, we'll have a predictable budget, $250,000 year over year. Short equipment life. Well, if we are only going to use equipment for 5 years and then we don't reuse it, it's kind of wasteful, I think. So by reusing it, maximizes our investment. So yeah, once again, buy once, use twice is the plan I'm putting forward. Now, does that leave us open a little bit to risk? Not having a fully operational disaster recovery site? Yes. All right, that is the only downside. But it is, the proposed 5-year plan does cover us in a great deal of potential problems. And I think it's the best use of tax dollars. So yeah, so having a disaster recovery site does give us continuity of government, it's faster recovery. It does help us with cybersecurity, ransomware, or denials of service attacks. Helps us keep public safety systems available. And it's my recommendation that the council approve this 5-year plan at $250,000 a year to build out our disaster recovery site.
Thank you very much for that. We'll take questions. Amy Jo?
So you said it would be functional day one.
Well, it would function
not complete.
as a backup site. Backup, as in we're backing up our data.
So you can restart with.
Right.
Okay, so kind of like cloud, like you can
Correct.
download right
Right.
up to what you, okay. I just want to make sure I understood that.
Yes.
I mean, I was on board with the whole thing, but I think this is maybe a smarter, more budget-friendly way to do it. So I really like that you came up with the idea. I do think we need it just because of our location and the things that do happen here. So, anyway, I'm good.
All right, thank you.
Mike?
Is your server on the second floor of the public safety building right now?
First floor.
Do you think we should move it to the second floor?
We don't have space on the second floor to hold all the equipment.
Can we find some way to elevate it? If it's elevated, you don't have to worry about flood. Right now, on the first floor, you have to worry about flood. So it would be a really good idea to elevate it. How many gigabyte servers are we running total?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head. It's in terabytes.
Terabytes?
About
Okay.
16 terabytes, I believe.
And what type of RAID?
Well, we have a data domain, which doesn't use RAID. It uses a mesh. And we also have some storage that uses RAID 1+0, or RAID 10. Yeah.
Okay. What vendor are you using for the equipment?
Dell.
Using Dell? Have you ever been on Dell's Outlet Center? They sell half-price servers that people give back to them who were in business a year, and, so they have a lot of those over there. It's a resource. I used to do all my servers off of, the Dell Outlet. I do like this plan, much better than the immediate outlay and stuff like that. I do like this plan a lot. And I appreciate you spending the time and working it out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Jim, I heard you say that there was one downside. Would you please repeat that downside? And also, are there any other possible downsides?
Yeah, so the only downside was that if we were to lose the public safety building completely, we wouldn't be able to run all our core critical servers right away because we don't have a fully operating backup site. That's the only downside.
Would you need more employees should this plan go into effect?
No. No, we are fully capable of creating this backup site because it's basically, we just did it. We just built, the core here on our primary production site, so we'd be duplicating it. So we have the skill set, we have the ability, we have the track record. We can certainly do it ourselves. We don't need more people.
Okay, thank you.
Steve?
So is this what other do we know Claremont and our surrounding cities, are they doing something similar? Do they already kind of have theirs set up?
Yes, they are Claremont, Lake County, and Altamont Springs have a backup data center. They do locate them, though, within the confines of their jurisdiction. They don't go off-site. I should say, they don't go outside of their town or county.
Gotcha. So they've spent like a similar amount that we would be spending.
And I'm not sure how they did it. I don't know if they did it all in one shot, 1 point whatever million, or they did the plan like I'm doing. I don't know how they went about financing it.
And then when you say if something happens to the public safety building, are we talking about a minor hurricane? I'm guessing we're talking this would be a huge disaster if this would take away that site, correct?
A serious enough event where we lost power and our generator stopped working. So if we would both lose power and lose our generator, then we would be in trouble.
And this wouldn't fix that aspect of it.
No. Not until it's fully functional would this help in that situation.
All right, that's all I had.
Again, thank you. This is a lot of work, and you did a great job on it.
Sure.
So maybe we can get with Altamont and these other ones and find out how they did it exactly when they did theirs. And I think what Altamont, you were with us when we were there, said if their backup center got wiped out, they'd have more concerns than just this. And I guess if our emergency building that we built for emergencies goes down, our problems are going to be so much bigger than just this. So we may need to think about that. Backup power fuel, I think we're set because I think the fire department has put in fuel that we can use in emergency situations. So that's pretty good. And we have a lot of generators, right, that we run around
Generator,
town.
public safety, other facilities. I believe natural gas fuels are public safety generator, which we test on a weekly basis. We do have fuel for vehicles on site now. And then we also have backup generators for all of our utility plants. God bless
So
you.
we're using natural gas instead of diesel for the backup generators?
I have to double check that. Eric, is it natural gas or is it diesel for the public safety?
So the backup generator for the public safety building is fueled by diesel.
Okay.
The fuel pump station backup generator is propane.
Are you able to prioritize what goes in as you start to phase this in? Are you able to say this is the most important phase 1 and phase 2, or is it just a?
Oh, no, yes, we can prioritize. Yes, sir.
In using backup equipment, if we do like Altamont did and start getting more and more into AI, would that be powerful enough? Or are you able, how does that work?
AI requires a great deal of memory to operate. I think Altamont uses a lot of cloud applications for that. So yes, our equipment would be fine.
Okay. Are we in compliance right now with the state?
Not really.
Not really? Where are we deficient?
It's not having a remote backup site. That's where we're deficient.
All right, that's all I have. I appreciate that. Thank you
Sir.
so much.
Mayor, council members, I'll just remind you all today, we're not making any formal decisions. It's just looking at the puzzle pieces, and then ultimately between now and the September adoption, that's when you'll be putting all the pieces together as the puzzle.
Yep, appreciate it. Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next up, agenda item 2 would be, we're still on fiscal year. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Take it away. Whoever's up next.
All right, excellent. So the finance team is here to present the CIP budget. Just to piggyback off what Tim just said, we wanted to provide a rough framework for today. We still have a lot of deliberation to go through with some of the departments and receiving some of the inputs. So we definitely invited them here so they could speak to some of the things. What I'd like to do is allow April to go through the slide deck that we prepared for you, and if you could be so kind to reserve questions till she gets through it and make notes accordingly, that would probably be helpful for this process. That way she can kind of get through it, and then we can kind of reserve the questions to the end. This is going to be one of those meetings where we try to match our ambition to our resources, so it's probably going to require a lot of dialogue. So that's why I said let's go ahead and get through the presentation. That way we can actually get to it. Okay? So if you be so kind, I pass it to April.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. I feel like it was just moments ago we were here. I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. I did hand y'all a packet of what I'm presenting, so until IT can, there it comes. Speak and you ask and you shall receive, maybe.
Sneak peek. Just a sneak peek.
Just a sneak peek. If it's okay with y'all, I'm going to go ahead and start, and you can follow along until we get up to this. Thank you. So as we go into this, we're talking about capital improvement projects, right? How do we fund this stuff? How do we deal with all of this, right? So we're going to go back, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a financial position summary. I'm going to give you a debt summary for general government, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the capital improvement requests for FY27. Okay? So here is this. Y'all have kind of seen this already, but I did update it with the information. So if you look now, you can see where we were in 2020, and you can see over the years, we increased in 2021, we increased in 22, we came back down a little bit in 23, but we've continued to climb. So now what I want to note is what was presented to you before with this number is it was a guesstimate for where we were going to end in FY25 because it was an unaudited number. This is now the audit is done, it's over with. We have $14.3 million sitting as cash on hand in the bank as of September 30, 2025. I'm going to kind of breeze through these two slides a little bit because we're going to come back to this when we start talking about the capital improvement projects. But we'll just kind of give you a little sneak peek and overview here. So if you look at this in the general fund, when you look at it, we have total cash on hand of that 14.3 that we just spoke about. And it says notes is September of 26, that should be 2025. So I apologize for that. That is September of 2025. The requirements per the charter is 15% reserves for the general fund. The total expenditure estimated for FY 2027 budget is 27.3. Understand that this is a structural and does not include CIP. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does structural mean? Let's just remind everybody, right? It's the little note I have down there at the bottom. Structural balance means reoccurring revenues pay for reoccurring expenses. So those things that we get as reoccurring interest, sales tax, TIF, all of those pay for our personnel and our general operating expenditures, not anything capital. So when you take the total cash on hand and you take it and multiply it by the 15 for the budget of 27 point, or not of 14, excuse me, the 27.3, multiply it by the 15, we are required to have 4.1 million of cash on hand or in reserves. So then you take the cash on hand and you subtract it from your required reserves. That leaves you a surplus of $10.2 million as of the end of 9/30/2025, estimating with the anticipated expenditures for 27. So then you come down and we take 27 revenues, and again, both of these numbers are going to be that structural balance, right? So on the revenue side, it's not CIP, it's carry forward that it doesn't include, right? It doesn't include any kind of carry forward to help balance the budget. So our anticipated structural balance revenues are 30.5 million. Our anticipated expenditures are 27.3, and again, structural. So you look at your structural deficit or surplus or deficit, and you have $3.1 million sitting in there, which means as of right now, 2027, while we're working through it, is structurally balanced as it stands right now. So then, what do we have in requests for CIP? FY 27 budget CIP requests total $12.2 million. How do we pay for that? So when you look at it, and if you say that you take the purple number up above, the surplus up above, and you add it to the surplus that you have in FY 27, that means at the end of 2027, we would have, if we didn't use it for CIP, we would have $13.3 million in cash on hand. So then if you flip to the next slide, we've got, well, that just went too quick. Okay, they're doing it back there for me. This is the discretionary fund. This is usually where we go most of the time to fund our capital improvement projects, right? It's that extra 1% that we get from the sales tax that we get from the state through the county. So in discretionary, there's no requirement for a reserve. The total cash on hand as of September 30 of 2025 is 1.5. You take your anticipated expenditures. This is CIP, so this is not going to be structural because CIP is the very opposite definition of structural, right? So you take your anticipated expenditures, and this is for the discretionary fund, what we're looking to spend, the requests we have that are eligible, is 4.1 million. Like I said, there's no reserves. That leaves us a deficit of 2.5. Then we come down to FY 2027, and we do a budget reserve. We have budget revenue, of 2.8. We have budget expenditures of 4.1. You can see we do not have enough revenues coming in to support our requests just for FY 2027. So what do we do with that? So we'll come back and we'll talk about that a little bit when we start going through the capital projects request. So now we're going to go on to the next slide with a debt summary for governmental fund, for the governmental fund. And we're just going to go through quickly here. We have the Bancorp equipment financing for city vehicle loans. We have the capital improvement refunding notes, Series 2021A and B on here. A equates to 3.1 million, B equates to 3.6 million. Then you have the capital improvement revenue note for Fire Station 3 that we are currently building, and that is at $9.8 million. Then you have the Lake County note for the radio loan at $134,000. So what does that mean here? So here you're looking, and so total current debt for general government is 17.1%. The total payments due in 2026 is 1.6. So your debt is 6% of all of your general revenue or general fund revenues. What does it look like for 2027? So the total current debt through 2027 for general government is $16 million. The total payments is 1.7. And again, it still leaves us with a debt of 6% for all general revenue, general fund revenues, which means we have a total debt in 2027 of 16.1. Now let's look at this, and I've broken this out, and I've said, here are the funding sources that we've looked at for the capital improvements that have come through. You've got building fund. We just talked about CRA earlier this morning, and their items, discretionary sales surtax, general fund, and then grant. And the two that we have right now are the Live Well Foundation and the CDBG, which is, the Live Well is still the Gadsden Trail, and which is the last of that project, of that grant. So you can see for building fund, there's 40,000. For CRA, there's 3.8 or 3.9, which we just talked about. Discretionary sales surtax is 4.2. General fund is 2.7, and then the grants total 1.4, gives you the $12.3 million in capital improvement requests. So now we're going to kind of go through those. And I really don't want to sit here and call out everyone. I'm going to kind of let y'all look at it, and I'm going to kind of talk about totals in each of these departments. And these are all grouped by departments. So we start out with our PD, they just have some vehicles, a drone, AEDs, for a total of $702,200. Then you move down to fire. And with fire, you've got some vehicles, you've got some cardiac monitor replacements, expiring gear, IT upgrades, et cetera. And that gives you a total of $441,400. Then we move to parks. And the one thing I want to say is, here's where we talked about Gadsden Trail. It will end up in parks. Right now it is being managed by, I'm actually not even sure who's managing that. Is Frank managing that, or is still?
Public Works, Capital
Public
Improvements.
Works is still, okay, sorry, I wasn't positive on that. So it shows in Park CIP, but it's really not theirs yet, because it's going to be theirs to maintain, and right, it'll fall under their stuff. Then you have Ronald Sefton Gaffney at 500. Then you have David Blank's park renovations, 225, Cherry Lake Park construction at 850. And I do apologize because Mr. Walker just sent me some updates for that. We had gone over that this week, and for some reason they did not get included in here, and I don't know why, and I do apologize for that. But you're looking roughly at $2.2 million in parks. Public Works fleet, you've got replacement vehicles. That's most of what you've got in fleet, right? That's what they are, $640,000. Moving on, you're going to look at facilities. You've got things like a city hall generator, flooring replacement at the senior center, some duct work at Lake David, giving you $80,000 in total capital being requested. You have Public Works streets, equipment, traffic calming measures, road resurfacing, stormwater improvements, giving you $575,000 for this year, or for 2027. You then have the community economic development admin. They're looking for a vehicle, and that was your one building fund for $40,000. Next is conservation and strategic initiatives, some dark sky upgrades, conservation land totaling 1.35. Then you have CRA, which we kind of went over just earlier before, so I'll kind of breeze past that one at 4.6. Then we have information technology, and they are looking for 1.56. Some of this is going to be general fund. Some of it is eligible. So the workstation refresh would be eligible for discretionary. However, and the citywide CCTV would be eligible, but the disaster recovery is general fund. It would not be eligible for discretionary. We're coming to the end, I promise. I didn't take this. So then we went back, we looked at this, Tim and I talked, we met. I went to senior leadership on Monday, and we said to the directors, okay, guys, go back, look at your CIP. You know, we don't know what's coming in February, right? We don't know what's going to happen, where we're going to be. So we asked them to go back, look at their CIPs, and see if it's truly projects that, one, could be really needed to start this upcoming fiscal year, where there are ways that we could make reductions to it, like Jim just presented to us, or, you know, what are the needs? So what they came up with is Parks says that David Blank's renovations, which I believe was for a master plan, I don't know where he went, that he said that did not need to be completed. The conservation and strategic was the conservation land acquisition, which was totaling 1.3 for this year, coming out of general fund, and then information technology for the disaster recovery site at 1.4. That gives you a reduction of 2.95 million in your capital improvement requests, which now brings your requests down to 9.3. That is it that I have for you.
Thank you for letting us get through that. The floor is you guys' now.
Mayor, if I may, just one question for April. Can you go back to the one slide that highlights the amount of margin that we have in terms of money that the city council could decide to invest in CIP or use to pay down debt or build more reserves if they chose to? What's that magic number, April?
So for general fund, your magic number is going to be the 10.2 that you're above, because the 27 projected at the bottom is if we don't touch that. If we don't touch that money, that's where we estimate to stand at the end of FY27 with cash on hand.
Gotcha. And that's assuming the 15% reserves.
That is correct.
Which is consistent with our charter, right?
Correct.
So if council chose to have, say, a 20% reserve or 25 or 30%, making sure that we have about 3 months with hurricane reserves, that would likely have to increase. So something to consider.
So 25% would give us, what, 90 days in surplus? Operating
I
fund?
think we're looking at, we'd have to do that math, I guess.
We'd have
right?
to do that math, but right now with the 15%, you're about 2 to 3 months of reserves. And I believe that Mr. Fitzgerald is on the phone with us. But yes, you're looking at about 2 to 3 months of reserves for the city with the 15%.
I'm slow, but
Okay.
1/4 of 12 months is 3 months, right? So 25% of a year. How does that work? Does it vary? 25% of a year is 3 months.
I would guess, yeah, just quickly, 25% would be about 3 months.
Yeah.
Is Mike on the line, just to speak to that?
Yes, I'm here. It is not 2 to 3 months. 15% would be less than that.
Okay.
Well, we could verify that number at some point during this budgeting process if you'd like to achieve 3 months.
It's just simple math in my head. Mike, you want to start?
On the last slide, where you came up with the new CIP total, shouldn't there be an extra 250 for that? Because I am assuming when he said he didn't need the 1.4 is because he wanted to go with the 250 idea.
I did not know about Mr. Ferran doing this project and reducing that. It was just, so that is not incorporated in there, but yes, we could add now, you would now add 250 to that we've heard that.
Okay. Has anybody looked into refinancing any of this debt?
So the 2021 A, B, and C were, or excuse me, let's go back to that for a second. 2021 A was refinanced. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. It was a refinancing. B and C, we have not. Because C is the, or not C, the Fire Station 3, excuse me. That is the one that we just took. That is something we could look at going back and seeing if we can do something with B.
Okay.
City vehicle loans, only about 430,000 left outstanding. That can be just paid off.
Yeah, I didn't think anything about that one. So, okay. Without going a deep dive on the rest of it, that's just what I had on top of my head.
Amy Jo?
Can you go back to page 15? Is the new CIP number, like, the number doesn't match the other, like, there's no decimal, like, it's just messing with my head. Is it really 9 million, or is there a decimal missing or a comma in the wrong spot? Like, all the other ones have no sense, like the decimal point and the 0, like.
Oh, the 2.9, you're talking about the 2 million reduction, the 2.9?
No, I'm looking at the new CIP total at the bottom.
It just doesn't have the decimal and.
It just doesn't have the
Okay,
decimal
so it
on
is
the end
supposed
of
to
it.
be
Yeah,
9
it's,
million.
I was like, because I was
Because I
like the
thought
one
it
above.
was, the total before was lower than 9 million, and then we came back with 9 million. That's where I got confused, I think. So I got to rewind.
It was, the total before was 12 point.
Was 12, not, okay.
Yes, was the 12.
That's where I was like, what? I
Yeah,
missed something.
I guess I should have put that in there.
It's
My
not your fault.
apologies.
It's formatted different, and then my brain, like,
Sorry.
I lost it. I like the idea with some of the reductions. I do think, yeah, like Mr. Jaycock said, we have to add in the 250 for the disaster recovery, but I like the idea that we brought it back down to, looks like we can make it work.
If you can go to page 13, I would just like to get an enhanced understanding of the traffic calming speed tables programs, which is about, I think, $75,000. Have those places been identified where these speed tables are going? One of the reasons that I ask this is because I remember the Chief Carroll having a conversation about how speed bumps slow down fire trucks. Is that right? How many, by how many seconds or whatever?
How many speed bumps are given over a period of time, but it's for a fire truck that you almost have to come to a complete stop for the fire truck to go over it. You're not going to take it at 15, 20 miles an hour going over that hump, given the weight of the vehicle. So for every one, you're delaying it by probably 2 or 3 seconds. So if we've had roads where my former life where I came from, where a stretch of road leading up to a school where we've had 6 or 8 of them in a row, and you're shaving off half of a minute or delaying about half a minute in time. So I'd say wherever we do use them, we use them cautiously. I'm not a huge fan of speed bumps or speed tables, although if we use them cautiously and not too many, it would be appreciated.
Okay, so for $75,000, 2 questions. Number 1, have the places been identified? And number 2, how many speed bumps are we looking at?
TJ Fish, Public Works. We don't do speed bumps because they're not as safe. We do speed tables, which are much longer and a little bit less abrupt. We currently are pricing them at approximately $25,000 apiece. We have 3 neighborhoods currently that have made requests through their homeowners associations. My position is, especially in light of the fiscal constraints that are being actively discussed in anticipation of possible decrease in ad valorem revenues, I was already planning to propose, including tied to this budget request, I think the city really needs to offer this as a matching program, that we've got some public funds available for traffic calming and safety. But if the HOA is making the request and they want to put their own money into the picture, then I think the city should offer funds for leverage and not just make it that we're going to go do it. And part of the due diligence, now that you've got staff capable of doing this, is review the new neighborhoods and get the speed tables in before the neighborhood's built instead of after the fact like we'd had to do on Maravilla Way. That's where we've got 4 of them.
So TJ, are we looking at a possibility of, my bad for calling them speed bumps, okay? Speed tables. How much will $75,000 get? How many speed tables can you get for $75,000?
We right now, if we did it all by ourselves, that would buy about 3. What I'm proposing is have you approve a policy that we can bring back very quickly, make it a matching program at request by HOAs and neighborhoods, and then you can get 6 for the same price if they put the other 50% of the money in at the neighborhood level.
Is that a general practice? I mean, do HOAs normally go in and chip in for that?
It's a policy decision for the council, so does every community do that? No, but I'll tell you, not every community even bothers to do speed tables. So if we're going to do it in this financially constrained environment, I'm proposing that we do it as a matching program that would have HOA funds match for city funds.
And I was going to say, TJ, that's creative financing. So what he was proposing is whether we use the 75 and use it to support an HOA effort, because the request he got was from the HOA. So leveraging that would behoove them to invest their own funds to help with the project. So that's why he said 75 would cover 3 wholeheartedly and from a holistic perspective. However, if they want to subsidize it, they can also invest in it as well. And then that could cover, that way we're only distributing 37.5 to cover 3 from the request we have, or we can actually do 6 with 75 if we have the buy-in from 6 other neighborhoods.
And what if I don't want to? I'm the HOA director. What if I don't want to contribute? Then what?
We don't do the project, or we
Okay.
pay for it all of ourselves if we think it's a public good. That's a policy decision.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will always use Maravilla Way because you've taken what was supposed to be a residential street that Mr. Maslow is extremely familiar with, and you've turned it into a collector roadway between 3 major neighborhoods. So that's why there are 4 speed tables, and I promise the chief I won't do that to him again.
Thanks, TJ.
Thank you,
Yeah, a
Steve.
lot of lessons learned on Maravilla. I'd also just recommend TJ and the staff looks at, you could design a speed table to also perform as a mid-block crossing. So it becomes a pedestrian crossing, elevated crosswalk essentially too. So then you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, again, leveraging even more in terms of a small dollar amount just to do more with the dollars.
We're having the developer that's building Max Hooks Road for us by the park. He's doing one of those. It's a raised crosswalk that's a speed table.
Real quick.
Steve?
Oh, Steve.
Yeah, I think it looks good. It's a part of the puzzle. So I think once we go through all of these and we have the final amount for everything, I think we may need to come back and cut certain things if we need to make room. But I'm comfortable with it. And then based on what we were just talking about, as I served on an HOA, I would be totally comfortable charging an HOA for something that they're requesting. I think that's a good use of taxpayer funds, and if it's something that the HOA really, really wants, then they're going to have to bring it to their members to vote on to pay the other half. So
We don't do it just because it feels right. We have to have a traffic engineer sign off that it's an appropriate safety measure. So we don't do this willy-nilly.
Okay, is that it, Steve? Steve?
Yep, that's all for me.
Okay, can we go to 3, please? Slide 3.
15% is 55 days. So just shy of 2 months.
Thank you. 3? I think it's 3. It's the one that shows that beautiful graph that goes up. That's that graph right there. So I want to set the stage for my comments. Can I do that? Give me permission? In fiscal year 2019, how much money did we have in the bank? There's about $12,900,000. Remember that you guys got me that graph? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but you helped me with that to get that graph. We went from $12,900,000 down to $445,000 in the 1 year of reserves. That's when we had to put in the fire assessment fee, and it took us quite a while to get back up, even with the fire assessment fee. So when we're talking about 90 days or $10 million, I reflect back in 2019 dollars, how in 1 year, all of it can go, and we need to be protected. And so therefore, it's why I'm so hard on debt and everything. Maybe, you have that graph. You did it for me. Could we get it out to the council? Because it's either 2019, it was 2019, same graph, goes up and down, and I think it was 12.9 million. So with that, it kind of explained to me the strategy. Can we go to the debt? When we refinance debt, are we refinancing it to get a better interest rate, or just to refinance and carry stuff out further? Because I think the refinancing takes us out to like 2040. Go ahead.
So the one that we did refinance, I can tell you that it was to get a better rate. That was on the public safety complex, right? When we originally built the public safety complex. And we did do that to get a better rate, and we combined it. That's why you have the A, B, and C. We combined it with the other two.
Yeah, and I just wonder what the philosophy on that is going forward. I agree with the date, but we keep pushing debt out. And we're going to see more of that coming up with utilities. I mean, where we keep pushing debt out and then postponing payments in some case. So I'd really like to understand that in one of our meetings that we're going to have, I guess, privately. How much of the total amount of cash is tied up total in restricted funds that we don't have access to? Like the building fund that are restricted just, in other words, I can't pay off a debt with the building fund, with the, all these different funds.
So I can certainly get that number back to you. I should have brought my computer with me. I didn't.
Okay, I mean, I don't mean to, again, put you on, but I just want to understand what we really have to operate with versus, I can't use the building fund, I can't use CRA. I got all different kinds of funds that we can't use to apply against debt. On the one for expenses, we went through the police and there was vehicles there. How many vehicles is that?
For police?
Uh-huh.
Bear with me one
It'd
moment.
be good just to say, I know we got one fire engine and stuff, but.
I believe it is 10, Chief? 9? 9, sorry.
9, okay. Park community, how much of the parks, is any grants in if we can go to parks and community, our parks, how much of that $2.2 million is grants? Is any of that grant funded, or is this all coming out of our general?
Well, it's not coming necessarily out of general. Some of it, has, right? But I want to say 200,000, Mr. Walker, is what is grants, which is the FERDAP grant.
200,000, so we're at $2 million, and how much is that as impact fees? I mean, what is it, $100 and something per, what is the impact fee? Like, we can do it right now. We got 175 houses this year so far, and how much do we get? It's total of 16,000, 14,000 goes to recreate park, wastewater treatment and all that. I'm just trying to understand how much of that is general fund versus impact fees is funded.
We can take a look at that. I can look that up.
And I really want to understand why the decisions for these particular projects were done. Why we said we needed these.
A few reasons as Mike Walker comes up. One, they're consistent with the Parks Master Plan sequencing. The other is I strongly encourage our staff to look at projects that could be cash flowed and not increase the debt. So that's a benefit of it. Taking care of existing parks rather than expanding for new in terms of acquisition, which could also be more expensive. So that drives the cost down. And these are established neighborhoods where people already live, have already been looking for these improvements. Those are a few of the reasons why we prioritize this.
It fits right into my question. My question is, does this follow our strategic plan?
Yeah.
Oh, does it? Right now, our strategic plan says we need neighborhood parks. We keep putting the most money into destination parks. And we've got where we have the most children and stuff, isn't Cherry Lake. We go over to Eagle Point, those areas.
Gaffney
and we
as
have Gaffney, and we have these other parks that are getting underfunded, in my opinion, where we've got a Cherry Lake Park, which I love it, and all that, but does it need to be expanded now, or should we be taking that money and passing on? Because all of our taxpayers are paying this money, right? Except for impact fees, and what I'm getting is about $2 million is coming out. What about the guys over in Eagle Point? What about the people down here where we walked on Blue Street? What about all the other ones? And our strategic plan says every neighborhood should have a park within walking distance.
Correct.
And we've got Regional Park, God bless. We got Cherry Lake. What about all the other ones? So these are tax funded.
Good point, Mr. Mayor. I would say both David Blanks, which is the park in the Blue Street quarters, the reason why that's at 225, Mr. Walker, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's for the design and permitting process. Construction would then follow up the following year. That's why the amount is lower. You could make the case to increase both design and construction, but it's very unlikely to get through design and permitting all in 1 year, so I didn't want to see a carry forward situation with that. The second is Gaffney Park. Obviously, the park is there. All the neighborhoods are built out. There's a lot of families. You could potentially make the case to increase that 500,000 amount and maybe reduce the Cherry Lake Park. Those parks, though, do fit the bill in terms of smaller community neighborhood-based parks that are existing.
Yeah, but I look at the dog park and don't really think that's built out for kids and stuff.
Gaffney, correct.
Gaffney. And then we say that we're in public forums that we're going to put the entry for kayaks and stuff from the city on, what was it?
Gaffney as well.
Park as well?
Because it's also all on the Platwakaha.
Yeah, well, so that's my point. I know that there probably is, that 200,000 is probably going to Cherry Lake Park construction, that we, probably some will live well or something, but this isn't the first time we've had this conversation. We are, in order to fit our strategic plan that we voted on, we need to have community parks. And yes, we make developers on the new ones build the community parks, but we've got a lot of people that have paid taxes for 50 years, that don't have them. And the ones where we do have new places that have a lot of kids, everybody's your age, over on your side, we got a dog park. And I'm just saying, I hope that we can get the priorities straight on this particular, that 2.2 million is a lot,
It is. Those are really the two parks that are on this list that I think would fit that bill. If you're trying to allocate more toward the smaller projects, then possibly reducing what's going into Cherry Lake could be an option. We do have Mr. Walker here at the table. He could speak in more detail than I can, obviously. And again, he's here for digesting feedback from the council to give us an opportunity to come back to you ultimately with some tweaks.
Do you want to speak to it, Mr.
Mike.
Walker?
Mike, can I chime in really quickly on one thing? Because I just want to say one thing. So, Mayor, you are saying the 2.2, and I just want to make just a slight distinction with that. It is less that is coming from city money, because remember that the Gadsden Trail is sitting in there at 649, which is grant funded.
Oh, so we've got 849 in grants? 'Cause you said
649.
Yeah, we said 200,000 a minute ago. Was that, because I know you still got.
For
have
parks.
grants for Cherry Lake, right, that you still have to use
I
up?
apologize for the Cherry Lake Park. Correct, Walker? Cherry Lake Park, is that referred at?
FERDAP is $200,000 for Cherry
Cherry
Lake Park.
Lake.
Yes.
I wasn't, because I look at Gadsden, like I said, it's separate, it's not really Walker's yet, so
That's fine.
it's grant.
So I'm at 1.4 million of general funds, right?
Yes,
That the
but-
taxpayers pay for.
Yeah.
And that, again, I go back to, where can somebody get on a slide? Where can they take their kids? Where can they, do they have to get in their car and go? Because our strategic plan says we want these so people don't have to get back on 19 on Cherry Lake Road and all these places to add to the traffic. We want walkable parks. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mike, can you also speak to the playground equipment I think that was already purchased?
Yes, and I'll probably need about 10 minutes of your time, so just, let's relax and talk through. I do have a couple slides, so if I could have the clicker that's down by Miss April, and if IT could put some slides up, and whichever one pops first, we'll discuss that park. So in what is on your screen now is Gaffney Park, so that is one of the numbers that is what we're discussing. So this is a conceptual plan that's in front of you that is a complete build-out of Gaffney Park. We did community meetings, I believe probably 2-3 years ago, came in front of council, previous council, maybe some sitting here part of this. I know current vice mayor was at, I believe, the community meeting before we even started this design. So we had a good turnout that day, and this is where we landed as far as, open space, bottom right, basketball court, multi-purpose court, possibly having conversations there. They wanted it more away from the border of the property line, that court away from the houses. You've got going straight up from the basketball court in the bottom right. The other blue box is a fitness court. Around that fitness court is the necessary stormwater as you continue to move to the top of the screen. A boardwalk area in Cherry Lake, which the mayor was talking about, top left of the project, kayak, release point to go through the Palatlakaha. That's in future phases, but coming back down front and center is this is the project that we were hoping to go out to bid. Not hoping, we did go out to bid for this project. These are part of the funds that we're looking at in your carry forward, but there's a pause there because we're still hoping to possibly utilize fiscal year 26 numbers this year. So we have been working on this for quite a while. We did go out to bid in March. The numbers didn't come where we needed them. When we were doing construction designs for this portion of the park, I asked our consultant to put a little bit more on paper. So when we go out to bid, let's understand what maybe future numbers are for some of these elements, because we knew it would be outside of our budget, but at least we'd have numbers on the shelves to either apply for grants or have for y'all for future consideration. So we went out to bid. We're not able to pull this off. As of yesterday, we have a new scope, which is what is in color here. Exactly what the mayor just mentioned. We have a lot of homes. We have 3 HOAs around this park. They need a playground. They need swings. They need slides. So part of the $1.2 million that is in this year's budget, fiscal year 26, you have allocated we have allocated and encumbered $500,000 for the playground. We ordered this playground over 1.5 years ago. It's just getting to this point has been a challenge. No finger pointing. Planning and permitting took longer than I expected as a park director. Once we got through planning and permitting, we carried it to fiscal year '26. As we all know, we've had some vacancies in the procurement office, not pointing fingers. We wanted to utilize the continuing construction services contract that City Council approved with a list of 21 contractors that we could go to for projects under $7.5 million. That policy wasn't completed yet between procurement and city attorney. We were on pause. Then we went out to bid in March, like I said. Numbers came back where now with a well-educated, and that's not blaming anybody previous. Now we have somebody in procurement that has looked at the bid that went out. My anticipation was when we put the bigger box out to bid and we had numbers, I felt we could lessen the scope, negotiate numbers and all that, and procurement manager has advised that is not in the best interest of the city to do that, so we might want to go out to bid again, which we are doing. We're lessening the scope. We have a playground that we have procured, that we have a purchase order for and a contract, so you can see what we have gone from to where we want to just get a playground built, get the stormwater built that's needed, the sidewalks around the playground that are connected to the front of the park and the parking lot, and we hope to be going out to bid next week for this, which will leave us the monies we feel that can get this done. I don't know if it'll be for September 30th, but as we get closer, we'll know what a carry forward request will be, but it'll still be using the budgeted fiscal year '26 dollars that we have been blessed with. So we shouldn't be asking for more. We'll be playing with the same bank.
Okay, I mean, that's really good, and thank you for having that. But I think this is a separate meeting on this and where the priorities are. It's not a budget meeting. It's where we're putting the money. It's not expanding it. I love walking down around here in Lake David, and there's 5, and you know the 5 kids that use the skate park. They come from Cherry Lake. Their mom brings them down. They would love to have the Cherry Lake up there. And that's the age group that's up there. And I look at this thing, and it's underneath it's lighted basketball courts that could be pickleball courts, and the average age on this side of town is much more pickleball than skate, and it's already ready to go. I just think we ought to have a meeting about it, and I would love to see, and it's just me, that kayak area put in phase 1, because not only is it good for the age demographic that's out there, it's also good as we're arguing to try to get a Wilson Island and talking about a blueway, and we bought all this 700 acres and all that. We have no way for the public to access it. And it kind of comes out as, are you kidding me? You know, we don't have any way to get them in. So it's hard to plead for that park when we haven't got any way to put them in.
Mr. Mayor, to your point, there's kind of the meat and the sandwich of the strategic plan. You have the conservation and preservation, community livability, and eco-agrarian lifestyle. This is probably the lowest cost opportunity to achieve 3 of those pillars of the strategic plan just with that project. This is property we already own along the Plotlakaha. It serves as a community park, but again, access for that blueway. Our first access.
Yeah, I'm just asking, just think about where the money's going. We got a tremendous amount of benefits for the people out on Cherry Lake, you know, and I know probably down the road we need another basketball court and pickleball, but we have other places that are not, they don't have an equal amount of benefit, you know, whether it's down here or Gaffney Park or all these other ones, and just really would like to see us get this equaled out a little bit.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, but I'm confused because here we have a dog park in the middle of 3 HOAs. We're looking to put a playground to get those children engaged in a closed area in a park. So I really think this, and I don't, maybe you were agreeing earlier, but I thought getting a playground in this park around 3 HOAs would be very important and check a box.
I will not argue with that a bit. I just like to see more of this plan done. And Mike, you walk around too, and people say, I just want a place to go to throw a football. They don't even want a organized baseball field. They just want to go to a place, where can we go and throw a football? Where can we go throw a baseball? Just give me a field. I've heard that. And then also the picnic tables, and you hear that all the time. We need picnic tables to go do stuff, but.
So Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, for me to work with Mr. Walker, essentially, philosophically, expanding the color on this
Yeah.
map for fiscal year '27.
Take that 800,000, take the 200,000 away, say we got 600,000. If we put another 200 and only did 400 over there, what could we do with this park? And then what can we do with that money to spread out the benefits equally around the whole community rather than people getting in? I mean, I love Cherry Lake Park, but everybody's got to get there one or two ways, down 19 or coming down Wilson Lake Parkway or one of those, going on to Cherry Lake. I mean, it's a nightmare right there, but I'd just like to see us just rethink that a little bit.
We'll spend some time on it.
Could I bring up my next slide, which I think ties into exactly where you're going, sir?
Yeah, or you could just stop me and say, wait a minute, I got a slide that'll answer that.
Not my meeting, sir. Poof, look at IT. Holy smokes, they're jumping on it. Let me see if I had one or two. What do I got here? All right, so this is current as we live today at Cherry Lake Park. We're all familiar with it. You got the charter school graphed in, shaded in on the left. So we're all familiar with Cherry Lake, large event lawn, playground at the top of the screen, new parking lot in the center there, old parking lot to the middle of the screen, existing basketball court. Two blue roofs are your restrooms. What is not on this slide is the new pavilion, which would be middle right of screen next to the bathroom up there. And then the grass area to the right of the new parking lot, Phase 3 improvement area. So here's what has been, once again, in fiscal year 26 budget, and I believe in fiscal year 25. Shame on me. So we had an agenda item coming forth, and I'm glad I'm using this as a test the water, so please provide input on this, because we were gonna go in front of council this coming Monday with an award of a contract, because we also went out to bid on this project for Phase 3 in February or March. We got the bids back. Once again, I explained the procurement challenge that it put on me as far as not allowed to negotiate and change out scope, just it would put us at a liability or risk. So to avoid going out to bid again, this is just what we were going to present and see. We have one little over $1 million, $1,032,000 remaining for this project. A bid came in that was lowest at $941,000. But we have owner direct purchases that need to go on top of that. Those owner direct purchases are the Musco lights, tennis court pickleball lights, like the big lights at South Lake Regional. The courts themselves, the 6 pickleball courts, the 2 tennis courts, and the basketball court. 3 little pavilions. The lighting the trail lighting that goes around the event lawn, and trail lighting that would go around the playground. Most of you were at the Juneteenth event on June 19th. Vice Mayor was there at the end of the event. Not sure if others were, but it was dark in the area. Parking lot was well lit. So we do have in this scope is to light around those trails with our dark sky lights, pedestrian trail lights. So those are owner direct purchases that come up to another $980,000. But let me talk through everything. This is where the $200,000 from FERDAP, the state funding, comes in, because that is to build the courts, the trails around the courts is what that $200,000 goes to. I know when you look at the big picture, I get it. So I've had sleepless nights on this project and the last one, because I like to make things work, but, there's common sense in the world too, which I have a lot of. So we have 940 to get all the grounds ready, to get everything smooth, to install the lights that I mentioned around the trail. That is in the scope of the project, $940,000. The common sense thing that keeps me stuck on this is this bid is $1 million less than the other two bids that came in. That's a lot of money that, in my head, we need to try to have a conversation. If we can, end of the day, you're the bosses, I follow direction, I'm good. I sleep good at night. I'm not sleeping good at night because the decision hasn't been made. So it's $1 million less than the other bids. Yes, we can it, go out to bid, or use funds elsewhere. The other question is the $200,000 from FERDAP. We got to talk to the state. We do have until June 2027 to build what I've mentioned, or we don't get the money, the reimbursement money. So the question to the state is, hey, if the city decides thank you but no thank you, is that okay to do? I don't have that answer, and I should have had that today, but I don't. So those are the moving pieces. We would need the extra funding that Ms. Bridget in Finance has shown in the slide. We would carry some of this forward if we don't get, because we could award, well, we pulled it from Monday nights, but 2 weeks, we'll be coming in front of you, depending how this conversation goes, awarding that contract to get the dirt ready, to get everything moved around, to do their scope of work, to get the electrical in for the lights, and then we order all the toys. He puts in the lights, and the other contractors come in and do the courts, the tennis, pickleball, and basketball court, with the additional either park impact fee money, which fits towards this project, and maybe some discretionary tax money. So those are the moving pieces. Got a very good bid, $1 million less than others. We have $200,000 from the state to go towards this project. Or, at the end of the day, if it doesn't, feel good, we just stop and regroup. I would, though, at the end of the day, if we do want to scrap where we're at, and we have the blessing, we have the fiscal year $26, it is important to me, and I think our residents, that we get the lighting around those fields, even though it's going to be an owner direct purchase, $300,000. We do the lights, we hire an electrician, put it in, call it a day.
Good input. Does anybody have any comment on that? Go ahead.
Usually when you have $1 million bid and then you got $2 million bids, the $1 million bid's going to come up with $1 million change orders. So you need to go back and ask the two other people who gave both around $2 million. You need to go ask them, could they ever get to $1 million? And if the answer is no, you need to go to the guy who said $1 million and said, how in the world are you here? It doesn't look like to me that he'll perform for the $1 million. That's very, very concerning. In all my construction history, that is extremely concerning. And Barbara mentioned it once. When you get 3 bids, you throw the lowest out and the highest out, and you go with the one in the middle. So you want to go with the lowest, and that's
Totally
scaring
agree.
me.
I totally agree with you, and I know you're just using language as far as go speak to them. I'm not allowed to talk to them, procurement can, but I understand your point. The contractor that is the lowest bid did build the new pavilion, the large pavilion out there, so we do have a working relationship. Yes, totally get it. Wouldn't say a red flag, but a flag, $1 million, because the others aren't making $1 million in profit. Whether overhead, but understand your point. Yes, sir.
Give me Joe.
I agree with you that we definitely need to at the very least, get the lighting up. I'm a little biased. This is the park that my older kids ride their bikes to. So, I would like another basketball court there. We don't do pickleball, so, but I know it's really popular, so for other people. But for sure, the lighting, it is super, super dark at the park as soon as the sun starts to go down. So for that, the parking lot is very well lit. The basketball court is well lit, but yeah, at the very least, if we could get the lighting in, I would like to see some of the other things done as well, because I hate to give away free state money, especially when that may mean that we're not eligible to get more free state money in the future. So for sure, find out what the repercussions of that would be if we don't take that. And then I guess we'll just talk about that again later.
If it were possible that you could take then and now and put it together for the Gaffney Park, there is a significant reduction for Gaffney Park. I think that that is something that needs to be looked at. It is dark at Cherry Lake, and maybe we just have to take baby steps, maybe the lighting, but I feel that the other parks around deserve just as much as Cherry Lake Park does. In Phase 3, what is Phase 3 consist of? What does Phase 3 consist of at Cherry Lake Park?
Pickleball courts, 6 pickleball courts, 2 tennis courts, additional walking trails, lighting, 3 smaller pavilions, and another basketball court.
Although this is just a conversation, I feel that some of these things for Cherry Lake Park could be put on the back burner and give more fair and equal balance to places like Gaffney. Now, I understand that you have a working relationship with the people that came in for $1 million. Let me ask you this question. When they came in with $1 million, how much did that go up?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
I'm low bidder. I bid $5. Everybody else is bidding at $25. It's standard practice, let me just say, in the feds, that when you have a low bid like that, that is here, and the other two are here, I want to know when they came in at $1 million, did it stay at $1 million, or were there add-on costs?
Well, we haven't moved forward with this, so we haven't even awarded the contract, but they did build the pavilion at the...
That's what I'm talking about, Mike, that pavilion. Did it stay at $1 million, or did they come back and say, we need more?
I understand the question. So the previous project that they did at the park, there were not change orders, and actually it's going to be the total flip on this, which shows the credibility of the individual. And just to pause there and say, the other 2 bidders, we also have a relationship because they built South Lake Regional Park. So it's not a relationship favoritism. All 3 have worked for the city. To answer the question on the pavilion, the concrete work that they did under the pavilion wasn't satisfactory and did not meet city expectations. At their cost, they removed all the concrete out and repoured it, no charge.
So they bid $1 million, we paid $1 million. There was no other charges.
It wasn't $1 million for the pavilion, but you're just using numbers, correct?
Okay, I'm just looking for balance and fairness. And if you take those 2 pictures with what it was or what we're projecting and what it looks like now, to me, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't think, I love Cherry Lake Park too. But There are other parks that probably need improvement maybe for those that don't have transportation to Cherry Lake Park or want to feel comfortable in their home. And all I'm saying is, not so much. Thank you.
If I may add, just to how did we get here? We did the park master plan in 2021.
Uh-huh.
Not saying I'm a book reader, but I'm a rule follower. We are going step by step through this master plan as far as what to build, what phase, when. The RAC put it in order. Council blessed it, and Cherry Lake, what we're finishing is basically the last piece in the 3 to 5 year plan from 2021. David Blanks was next, Jimmy Thomas Memorial, then John Griffin. So I am going down that pecking order, and it's being highlighted as far as what council has directed us through with the support of the RAC through the master plan.
But sometimes, Mike, things happen.
I'm okay with that. I just wanted to cover my steps and let it be known I'm following that Bible.
Okay, and things change. You know that. And while it would be nice to have everything solidified in concrete, the city's growing. The people coming in are diverse. And sometimes it may be necessary to come before the council or whatever and say, hey, I'm doing this by this, like after this discussion today. I did this, and I did this. But heaven help if we cannot be flexible on the things that we are doing for our community. That's all I want to say about it.
Okay, not to beat parks to death because we got a long way to go on the budget, but how much do we have to do of this plan in order to get the $200,000 grant from the state? You said we'd lose it if we didn't. Do we have to do all of this?
The Musco, Musco lighting, the lighting for the courts is $185,000. The courts themselves is $514. So you got what, $700 in the courts?
That's what that $200,000 has to have in order to get it?
And some of the trails, the concrete trail work. So yeah, $700-800, most of it.
So that'd be a $500,000 hit to us. I mean, you guys need to figure this out. I mean, but Mr. City Manager, I'm concerned because once again, the city master plan isn't matched up with the parks master plan. And we've talked about CRA before. Does that fit into the overall city master plan? In some way, we've got to get all these together. Because we can't, if we give somebody directions going one way and the whole city's going another way and CRA is going another way, we're responsible. So June 2022, we passed the master plan, so it was a year after the one that you're working with. We have to get those all together. Yeah.
So I would agree, and I want to commend Mike Walker for working off the plan that he was assigned by council, and that's one of the reasons why we have these conversations on an annual basis, right? To reevaluate, staff to share where they're at, but get feedback and direction from the council, and if we have to make tweaks to certain plans on a park, or if we have to make tweaks to a plan to better align with our strategic plan, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. We just need to get everybody together.
And if I can just add, your general fund budget does have funds in professional services because we've heard this before. So the update for the park master plan request is in the budget. So if we get there, it's in there to get everybody aligned.
I just, I'm sorry that we had to go through, but everybody pays taxes. Everybody wants a return on their taxes. When they see it going to new neighborhoods and stuff and the old ones, you know, I've personally got chewed out I've been here 50 years and I've been paying taxes for 50 years and, you know, I've paid my dues and why is everything going other places? And I say, well, most of the time the developers are doing it, but we have to make sure that we have equity across the city. It's so important in order for us to maintain credibility, keep credibility. But
That's also one of the benefits, Mr. Mayor, of having that 5-year plan. And as we kind of offset and recalibrate on one park and put more toward another park, we could demonstrate and say in year 2 or year 3 or year 4, it's not that we're going to just cut that entirely from that park. We're going to come back to it in the subsequent years. So other people who might be waiting on that improvement, they have some kind of an idea in terms of when we're going to get to it.
Yeah, it'd be great. I don't know if we have marketing people, but to figure out what demographics, we have 2 different cities here. You know that. We have when I walk out near Eagle Point, I don't meet anybody that's over 45 years old. If I walk back on this side of the city, I don't meet anybody under 45 years old. And we need to make sure that we're kind of catering to them. And but that's a thing for another day. I want to get back to budget. I'm sorry. Where in the budget, help me, where in the budget is fixing potholes and correcting dilapidated buildings? Because that's the 2 things that are a very, very hot subject out there. And I'll be very truthful to you. If I go to Billy's Market, I don't get out unless I get 10 people telling me, why can't you fix the pothole? And they're looking across at the train station. I got 2 demerits every time I go in there. And I don't know why we can't fix that one pothole. It seems to keep coming back. But where is this whole thing about keeping up the streets and making sure that we have maintenance and preventive maintenance and stuff in the budget? Where does that come in? Is that tomorrow or next day or?
As your Public Works Director, I'll say that potholes are not capital. They're just repair and maintenance. And we usually use coldcrete type of approach. Billy's is a really unique example because what you experience at Billy's is where's the public right-of-way, where's the private property line? That's its own issue. But then you got a drainage system, a very archaic, antiquated, poorly existing drainage system that keeps washing out that same pothole. So until the drainage is corrected, which, by the way, will result from the DOT project. And when I say that, where the pothole is, at the corner of Crittenden and Billy's, and 19 at Billy's parking lot, that's where the trail is going to go, right through that parking that's on the side of the road.
Don't make me wait 2 years. I
So
can't
the
take 2
trail
years
is
on
going to
it.
be the new pothole.
This thing is.
Yes, the trail will be the new pothole.
Is out of control. So I don't know what we have to do, but more cars probably turn on 19 from Crittenden than anywhere else. And everybody, why can't you fix it? I don't know if we've got I don't care what we do. I pour concrete in there. I don't care where the thing is. And no matter where the right of way is, I don't know, Chief could probably answer at least once every 2 or 3 months, the stop signs turned over.
Oh, it's more than that.
Because people are trying to.
It's every other week.
They're trying to get around the Grand Canyon there and they hit the.
Because no semis use that road at all. Thank God we put those signs up. It changes human behavior, correct?
All kidding aside, we need to have something in the budget for maintenance of roads. And in this whole thing in the survey, I want to go beyond CRA. This whole thing in the survey about dilapidated buildings and not keeping up, with the codes and stuff like that. We know we did that big survey. It was number 1. It wasn't parks. It wasn't anything. It was to get this stuff fixed, And I hope we have it in the general budget beyond just CRA, because we've got some issues out there. I mean.
We talk about our buildings or the public?
The public. They
private
drive
properties.
by. I mean, I'm sure that Palisades is one, there, we've got stuff all along the streets, and you remember the bad ones, you don't remember the good ones, and we've got to figure out how we're going to do this with this dilapidated buildings, either fix them up or bulldoze them down.
So next Thursday, we focus on the general fund. We'll also touch on the building fund. Code compliance will be a part of that. We'll make sure that we focus on code compliance and then also maintenance. We could highlight those amounts and kind of summarize that maybe in one slide.
And Mayor, I do want to give you a serious answer. I wasn't wanting to be too quippy there, but potholes, not going to be in your capital budget. It's a repair and maintenance line item, and it's a general fund expense. But, Crittenden is a good example. If we didn't know that the future of that road was going to change, it would already be a candidate for resurfacing. And that would be fixing the base, that'd be adding new pavement. And we've got several roads that are candidates for that very thing. Beverly Drive, by the way, is one of the top ones on my list. is that when the city took the initiative to put the public safety building and now Faith Neighborhood Center where those things are, we have an obligation to make that roadway improved, and all I'm waiting on is DOT's about to construct in there, and we need to design to complement that.
Just please help me out. I
Sure.
mean, maybe it is a capital to get it done permanently, but if you walk over there with one of these afternoon rains,
Yeah.
they'll take you and they'll show you. The water comes off the road, goes where that pothole is, splits, goes around Billy's, goes back behind by the car wash. And the highest point in that whole area is that drainage ditch, that not one drop of water goes in. That's down on the, if you're looking at it on the left-hand side, there's got to be some way to get the water into that drainage ditch rather than where it's going now.
I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll look at exactly that with whatever remaining funds we have in the streets budget. If we can do an overlay of some asphalt at a certain elevation to help that, buy us 2 years, that's how long we
Give
need.
me a pipe, I don't care, just get the water
Just
out
get
of
it out
that
of there.
area, you know?
French
I mean,
drain, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm kind of passionate about that.
You're fine,
I don't
sir.
go get milk there anymore because of that, you know? Okay, any other questions?
Help him fix that.
He can help you fix that.
I know how to fix that.
Mr. New CFO, what didn't I ask that I should have asked? Yeah.
Sorry about that. I think we were pretty comprehensive. There's a few things we really want to work out with the departments that we want to report back to you guys on part 2. So we really wanted to present a framework to let you know where we're going into next year. We still have some discussions with Mr. Maslow as well that need to ensue. So that was really the goal for today, is to kind of give you guys a rough framework so that when we present it before you in the subsequent session, we'll be more prepared to iron out the details and have something very polished for you.
Okay, and would it be too much to ask if you two and Frank on the phone could not do a model taking us out? Because when we keep pushing debt and stuff, I want to know what's coming out, what it's going to look like year 2, year 3, year 4, both with and without the deduction in property taxes. So we know exactly the maximum and a minimum. You know, this is the minimum we've got to be when we get to the next one, because we got to be really, really cognizant of what happens if November goes a different way.
Absolutely. Whatever visuals you like to need, or if you like to really, want us to illustrate something a little bit differently, we're happy to do that. We just wanted to, we had a basic framework of what we had, wanted to offer that. I'm happy to, provide any additional visuals or recreate visuals for you as well.
Just want to long term. Sometimes we make a decision for this quarter or this year, and it really comes back and gets us down the road, Yeah,
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, few things, priorities between today and next Thursday, our next workshop on the general fund. One is, this is all assuming the existing 5.7 millage rate. We didn't really present that, we didn't really talk about that, but we're planning on keeping that static unless we get other feedback from the council. Second thing, there is a 5-year forecast we're in the process of doing with Mike Fitzgerald, who's listening in. We're going to be doing that with Chris, who's just added to the team, of course. That's going to give us 2 scenarios. One is the without property tax impact, and then one with. So we're kind of looking at 2 different scenarios for the city right now. Few things I want you all to think about in terms of financial principles between now and next Thursday. You saw April's analysis on our reserves. What is a reserve percentage that you would like to see? We're at the 15% and then some. There's GFOA recommendations between 20 to 30%, 25% is likely that sweet spot on 3 months. So I'd like for us to kind of make a group decision on that. And then think about policies, not only just for this year, but going forward on things like max debt to income ratio. We're at the 6% for general right now. Usually 10% or less is great for a AAA bonded rated city. The other component is terms on borrowing. Some things just longer term to think about. Play on words there, I guess. But, there's 20 and 30-year bonds, loans that we could be looking at. That always drives down the payment. But then, of course, future generations are stuck with those payments. So something to think about in terms of structuring loans with shorter terms.
I would just put my 2 cents in. If you keep restructuring loans and you're going past the depreciated value of the asset, you're wrong. You know, that's the big, I don't want to get into all that, but I am not a big fan of just kicking the can down the road, you know, and sometimes refinancing for 1% costs you more in the long run, especially if you take it out to 2041, you know. The interest rate you're paying on that far surpasses what you were saving. So, and I think it will be a great discussion on what's the maximum. And I do think we all ought to, but remember, when we're talking about that, there's an 8% tax increase this year, right?
In terms of value increase.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not like if we stay at the same, the money stays the same. In the law, you know, so it is a tax increase of 8%. And some communities take it down by that increase, but we have 8% without taking any more millage to do. And so, you know, whatever happens, let's just think about what's the right thing to do there, so. Okay, is that the last thing on the agenda? Can I have a motion? Oh, I don't need one. Dismissed. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the hard work.